given it's Armistice Day. Hassan in Slough. Hello.
Hi, Sangeeta. It's a difficult one. I do agree with Prime Minister Sunak about the disrespect, but I totally disagree with Suella Braverman about hate march, and frankly, I just don't have time for Braverman. But given that the march...
Why don't you have time for her?
Sorry?
Why don't you have time for her?
Because of the other incendiary remarks she said, in relation to invasions, of immigrants, which is not an invasion, and also what you said about tents for homeless people. And please don't share this with Suella Braverman, but I actually bought a tent a few months ago for a homeless woman here in Slough because I could not bear to see her brave the elements as we approach winter.
Sedition, Hassan, sedition. According to Ms. Braverman. Sorry, carry on.
Absolutely, yeah. The Armistice Day is a time for, it's not just a British day, it's an international day. Muslims, Jews, Christians, Hindus, Asians, Jews, communists even, we all fought against evil, and that, the significance of that should not be diminished. But given that protests are taking place, my advice to the organisers, like Ben Jamal, would have been this, that this is a time where we need to unite, Muslims, Jews, and other people of faith or no faith must unite and find ways to find commonalities. If they're going to fly the Palestinian flag in solidarity for the Gazan people, I totally agree with that. They should also have flown the Israeli flag to show solidarity with the Israelis who were killed on October 7th. They should have held up posters of the hostages being taken. We should not forget them. And they should hold posters of the Gazan children who've been bombed, who've been killed, and the images I've seen you would not see in a horror movie. This should have been a time for unity between the different communities. It was an opportunity there. And I didn't do protests myself, Sangeeta. I work differently. So what I did, and this is the light at the end of the tunnel, what I did a few days ago is I had a podcast interview with a rabbi, Simon Jacobson, in America, in New York. It was a fantastic discussion, a one-hour discussion, a dialogue between a Jew and a Muslim on how we can resolve the crisis, how we can unite, especially between Jews and Muslims and Christians and other faiths. So I did send a link to LBC last night.
Hassan, I get it, but I obviously can't be promoting the podcast, but I will listen.
Yeah, sure.
I have to say, I have quite a lot of sort of sympathy with your position, and I think I would have liked to see unity marches specifically.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a lot, I think a ceasefire is a very specific cause for which people are marching. But I don't know whether it's because we, the media, haven't been covering them, in which case it's failure on our behalf, or whether or not they just haven't been organised. Because I think many, many people would actually want both communities, both the losses in both communities to be represented on a march, with the marches really being about generally being in support of civilians. And I hope actually that is happening. And if it is, people can tweet me at Sangeeta Myska, and I'll try and pick that up. Hassan in Slough, thank you very much indeed for your call.
Hassan in Slough, good afternoon.
Hi, assalamu alaikum. I totally agree with what you just said about us Muslims tackling extremism within the army. So like yourself, for 30 years I've been involved with observing extremism, and I did do a stint, unpaid stint actually, with Prevent, countering extremism.
Well, that's been criticised, Hassan, as well, hasn't it, Prevent?
Yes, it has, and I have actually challenged the critics as well about Prevent. Doesn't mean that's for fail-safe. There are things that can be improved with Prevent, but it's regarding Muslim extremism, and you're right, it is actually a small minority, but obviously they have a big impact. And I think that goes hand in hand with the rise of the far right extremism. Yeah. I've dealt with extremists myself, Muslim extremists. I've dealt with the far right, and hopefully I'll be coming out with my fourth book, which is a response to the far right. Now, their strategy has actually changed over the last 30, 40 years. So initially they campaigned against just general immigration, blacks and Asians. But now the focus is on Muslims.
Exactly. It's a cultural issue now. It's a battle. It's being set up as a clash of civilizations, Hassan, in my view. That's what they're trying to do. Yeah, exactly, and that's why I had as you know, I'm a Tory, right? But I disagreed with Suella Braverman because not just this context, but when she used the term invasion, because that's exactly what the far right uses in terms of Islamic invasion, this mythical invasion to destroy Europe. So she made the mistake in terms of the Palestine, hate march. It isn't a hate march, but I think the Palestinian campaigners, they've also made mistakes there. They could have held the protests another day, but having said that, they've held the protest. They've held the Palestinian flag to stand in solidarity with Gaza. I completely agree with that. But they should have had a unity march, and they should have held the Israeli flag as well and stand well, Hassan,
all the Israeli civilians.
Well, Hassan, I've got two questions for you. Because, you see, I've been very worried about the rise of this extremism across Europe for many, many years, like you. When you see things happen like Charlie Hebdo and people being killed for putting cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad, which is offensive to a lot of Muslims, frankly, including myself. But you can't go around lopping people's heads off just because you simply disagree with them depicting your prophet. It's completely unacceptable in a Western society to do that. Do you think that there is enough understanding amongst the Muslim populace writ large about the damage that kind of behavior does, or the fact that you've got, at least one teacher, I think it was in Batley, I can't remember now where it was, I think it was in Batley School, that had to go into hiding for doing the same thing. Now, you can ask about why is the teacher showing these cartoons, right? That's a legitimate question to ask. But even if they decide to do it, you can't be going around threatening teachers or journalists simply because you disagree. This is not acceptable in a Western country, surely.
Yeah, and more importantly, this is not acceptable from an Islamic point of view. So I think it's down to education. As you agree, our religion does not allow us to just go around killing people.
Of course not. Of course not. This is the problem, Hassan. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go to a break, but thank you for your call, and I hope that they don't call you a sellout for coming out with the very sensible comments that you've made, because it does take courage, actually, to come out with these things. And I can tell you, it is often not easy at all. My question to you is this: how worried are you about the rise of the far right?